Good evening, my fellow Exorcists, and welcome to the Lay of the Film Exorcist. Tonight, I will finally be taking a look at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Bitten by a radioactive spider in the subway, Brooklyn teenager Miles Morales suddenly develops mysterious powers that transform him into the one and only Spider-Man. When he meets Peter Parker, he soon realizes that there are many others who share his special high-flying talents. Miles must now use his newfound skills to battle the evil Kingpin, a hulking madman who can open portals to other universes and pull different versions of Spider-Man into our world. Okay, I'm gonna be the first one to admit that I was really stupid when this came out. Anyone who has seen my Twitter feed or my Instagram feed back in 2018 can really testify for this, because I might have hated on this movie a lot because it won, I forget which award, but it won against Incredibles 2, which was one of my favorite movies by Pixar from that year. Either that or it was Ralph Breaks the Internet, I'm not too sure, but I finally gave this movie a watch. Well, this was the second time I've watched it, but the first time I was so amazed. I cannot do this movie justice, because for a really long time this was the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man of the Sam Raimi trilogy. But I can't do this movie justice, but like any other reviewer in the past, I'm gonna do my best. First off, I gotta say I am a huge fan of Miles Morales. I like the video game. In fact, this was my first intro to Miles Morales, or the Black Spider-Man, because I really didn't read comics when I was young. I mostly knew about Peter Parker and like I said in the previous video, the 1990s series, a few of the cartoons. I was a huge fan of the movies. I vaguely knew about Spider-Gwen, also known as the Ghost Spider. Spider-Noir, I found out about him when I played that one Lego Marvel 2 video game, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. So that was my intro, and I always thought he was one of the coolest Spider-Man with the noir aspect, and because I am a huge fan of detective stories. In the comics, I really want to see more of Penny Parker, because she is the first iteration of a anime Spider-Man, and she seems pretty fun. She is a rarity, and I've always wanted to see a Spider-Man anime, so we should get her a TV show, am I right?
Boring!
Never knew about Peter Porker from Earth 8311, and actually this, as you can see, this movie takes a lot of inspiration from the Ultimate Fallout 4 Spider-Man story and the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man and Spider-Man 1 through 5, like the death of Uncle Aaron in this movie, who turns out to be the Prowler, just like in said comic. Except in that comic book, he dies from a malfunctioning arm blast that the Tinkerer gave him, and his injuries kill him, where here it's the Kingpin that shoots him and kills him. The introduction of of the Spider-Verse to Miles Morales and the Avengers actually takes place in the Spider-Men comics, which actually is referenced in this movie, with the two Spider-Men comic book that they throw into the mix. We also have the introduction in this movie for the very first time of Scorpion, who is the same alter ego as the one in the Ultimate comic book. And he's actually, in that comic, he's in conflict with the Prowler, aka Uncle Aaron, and it's Miles that actually has to fight him. So yeah, this movie actually took a lot of inspiration from that, obviously, on top of the Tobey Maguire movies. Actually, both Spider-Men The one that dies in this movie and Spider-Man from Earth 616 are very similar to Peter Parker. They actually explain it at the very beginning of the movie. They bring up the terrible black Spider-Man dance scene in Spider-Man 3. They bring up the train scene in Spider-Man 2. They ultimately explain the spider biting Peter Parker. Except the only thing they didn't bring in from that is the organic web shooters, which sadly I forgot to mention in the Spider-Man No Way Home video. But yeah, they don't bring up the artificial web shooters in this. I also kind of like the design of the Green Goblin. Apparently, this is the design from the newer comics, where the injection that Dr. Osborn takes actually turns him into a big hulking monster that can throw fireballs. I think I've only seen this once in one of the more modern Spider-Man comics, because I'm used to the Goblin from the older TV shows where he's a skinny guy in a Goblin costume, or he's greener, or he's the robotic-looking one from the Sam Raimi trilogy. Actually, it's said that the director of No Way Home took a lot of inspiration from this movie, so that's pretty awesome. It takes a lot of inspiration from previous Spider-Verse stories, and honestly, I think they picked a really good cast for this movie. I mean, the comedy of Spider-Ham, the goofy but mysterious Spider Noir, the gorgeous Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, whatever you want to call her, playing the love interest, the adorable Penny Parker, who gives the heavy animated vibes, and the ultimate father figure of Earth 616 Spider-Man. And actually, this movie kind of parallels No Way Home, where the older Peters are teaching the newer Spider-Man how to deal with grief and how to hone their powers, how to become a better Spider-Man, but also, in doing so, Miles and younger Peter Parker are ultimately teaching the older the older Peter Parkers as well. Younger Peter Parker helps Tobey Maguire with his grief, with essentially killing Harry Osborn, and makes him realize that he's a better person for everything he's done as Spider-Man. And in this one, Miles actually reflects the words that Peter Parker says to him, telling him that every lesson is a leap of faith, and you just gotta take it. You don't know where it's gonna go, because he says this to Miles Morales, and Miles ultimately figures out his powers a little bit better. I mean, he's still a bit green, but he's learning and he's gotten better because of these words, and Miles actually repeats it to Peter when he's afraid to go back to his universe and confront Mary Jane for how childish he has been and for not wanting kids. I also thought it was kind of a brilliant idea to add Kingpin, because he is next to Green Goblin, he is one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. Because he is very sympathetic, because most of the time, yeah, he's big on gang wars, he's in the Daredevil TV show, he's trying to save his city in the wrong way, where here he plays a sympathetic villain, trying to get his family back, after he lost them, willing to put the world at danger just to have them back, because he lost them because of his mistakes. And he, while he doesn't learn from this, he does, you can kind of sympathize with him. I also like the design of this movie. Like, it's very 3D. It took a lot of inspiration from the comics, using the effect words, adding some of the ink dots, and the comic book panels in this movie, which I find brilliant, and it's a very rare done idea in these movies. I mean, I think they even brought in an actual comic writer to help them work out the 2D design of the background and make it look a lot more 3D, and it really works for this movie. It makes this the ultimate comic book movie, and I can't wait to see what they can do with the Across the Spider-Verse, which we learned recently is coming out. I believe this year, actually, and it's a really big deal because this is continuing to date one of the best animated Spider-Man stories. I mean, the best still technically goes to No Way Home, as of last year and this year, but ultimately I say they're tied for the best Spider-Man movie and best superhero movie of the 2010s slash 2020 decades. I think I'm rambling, but yeah, I really like this movie, and it brings a lot of the great elements that I enjoy. And actually, there is one thing I want to mention, one important Easter egg that I want to mention. Actually, if you look through the Spider Cave, when Spider-Man and Miles Morales are brought down to the Spider Cave, you can see a lot of the famous Spider-Man suits, like the advanced Spider-Man suit from the Marvel Spider-Man for the PS4. I also like how in this movie, Miles technically wasn't given the suit. He actually made his own, which is done in the Miles Morales video game. But actually, I kind of wish we got something similar to the comics, where it was actually given to him by Nick Fury and the Avengers as a gift, because, and now this is definitely referenced in the movie, but I forget who said it in the movie, but they say that wearing the costume is in poor taste, which actually is a reference to the Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales comics, where after Peter dies, Miles Morales wears the costume, the original red costume, and he's which he buys from the store, which is also called back in this movie. But he wears the original suit, and everybody that sees him tells him that it's in poor taste because he's wearing a dead man's costume. And I love how they reference this in this. I also think this movie is kind of a callback to the Spider-Man storyline, where instead of Kingpin from this movie, in that comic, it's actually Mysterio that sends Spider-Man to Miles Morales' universe, and they gotta stop all these villains, plus Mysterio, and I just find this movie is just one big callback to that amazing comic, which I'm actually getting the rest of it soon in the mail, and I can't wait to read it. But so far, I love Miles Morales' story, and this movie heightened it very much watching it the second time. I also want to comment that the music in this movie is actually really good. I mean, after my first time watching it, I could not stop myself from listening to both Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee and What's Up Danger by Blackway and Black Caviar, because they're brilliant. Sunflower is our introduction to Miles Morales, and it plays off his cool personality, but also it has a bit of it shows a bit of his anxiety, where the other one is his origin music, where he ultimately becomes the ultimate Spider-Man in this movie and gains the web shooters and takes the leap of faith. But yeah, this is a really good movie, and if anyone hasn't seen it yet, which is pretty sad, go watch it, because it is the ultimate Spider-Man animated movie, TV show, whatever you want to call it. It is the ultimate Spider-Man animation. I also like, there's one other thing before I end this. I like the tribute and dedication that they did at the end to Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. With the quote and the thank you that they give to them, saying that they essentially saying that they created one of the best superheroes out there, that shows anyone that anyone can put on the mask, anyone can put on the suit, and be just as good or even better than Spider-Man. And this is kind of sad because it is one of Stan Lee's last cameos, or one of the few to last cameos that he has, and this was a sweet love letter to him and to Steve Ditko. But yeah, 10 out of 10. And Ultimate Spider-Man symbols and quadruple uh, quadruple A plus. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the little notification bell for more of our content and to see more of our videos. And just keep in mind, all you gotta do is take the leap of faith, and you will find your way. You will never know when something's gonna happen or if something good is gonna happen. You just have to take that leap of faith. Have a great night, guys, and thanks for watching. And stay spider. That's stupid. I mean, stay. Please cut that out, Silva.